thinking about that before. Yeah, thanks. Welcome to the Central Arkansas FCA podcast. What? I can't. He give me a heads up. He told me to go for it.
You got the countdown over there too.
Did it go?
It counted you down.
Are we still on? You just going to cut this?
We're going.
Oh
Sorry,
gosh.
I didn't know we were going. Here we. I think we just roll with it.
He said he had to restart everything. So here we go. Hey, welcome to Beyond the Huddle, Central Arkansas FCA podcast, where faith meets competition. My name is Josh Adair, and we have our co-host Zach Rose here with us. We are so glad that you're here listening or watching, and glad to be along in this journey with us as we talk about the impact of faith and competition on school campuses and how Christian men and women lead as coaches and athletes or leading as missionaries on campus, and the impact that it plays on campus, but also in their communities and the churches that they belong to. So today we have two guests with us that we will introduce here in a few minutes, but we're transitioning the format a little bit of coaches and athlete testimonies. We'll still have those from time to time, but because they're during school, during the time that we video this, it's kind of hard to match our schedules up to make that accommodate. But we're working towards that to continue to tell their stories and get that out. But we are transitioning to some people who have seen the effects and the benefits of, as we see Alan said there on the video, cut me off. And you have a lot of hair back there, Alan.
I do.
You're doing student ministry wrong. Do what?
Life has been good to me.
Life has been good to you. Absolutely. Alan Greenwood is here, and he's already shown his other side of his face that you'll see here in a minute. And Stephen Yates is here also from Second Baptist Jacksonville. And we're excited to hear their stories, how FCA has played a part, and why I partner with FCA and dialogue and all those things. But before we get there, Zach, you have anything that you'd like to say?
We're getting the repetitions in today. Let it be known that I would be lying if I said this is our first take that we're starting here. So we're getting better. We're practicing just like we encourage our athletes to and our coaches to practice. Perfect practice makes perfect. But are we striving to be perfect? That's the question.
There's only one. I've always said that on here. There's only ever one perfect person. That's not me. His name is Jesus. And if you don't know him, you need to get to know him so that we can work to be perfectible while he was the only one that was perfect.
What a Sunday school answer.
You heard that in Sunday school growing up?
Yeah, Jesus has always answered everything, right?
No, I was told in seminary that and Bible college that the sovereignty of God will answer any theological question you ever have, and nobody can argue it.
Wow,
it's a one way to get out of jail free card if you're stumped in systematic theology or any other course in Bible. Josh got an answer. Sovereignty of God. Yep, moving on.
Are you sure your calling wasn't be a college professor somewhere?
No, I guarantee you it's not that.
I can guarantee
you
that
can attest that too?
Yeah,
that's funny. The more that Zach and I work together, the more he picks up on stuff that I don't know that I do, and he brings it to light. So it's great.
We work better when we're joking around and having fun.
We do. We like to have a lot of fun. We have 4 core values, and having fun's not one of them in FCA, but it is in our team dynamic.
That's unspoken. Have fun.
Not sure that that's how core values work, but okay. So, anywho, introduce our guest here today. We'll start over here to the far side. He's not from the far side. He's from Jacksonville. Although, anyway, Stephen Yates is at Second Baptist Church, Jacksonville, as youth pastor. Stephen, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I mean, south side of the tracks, if you want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. Where I'm from, down in Hope, Arkansas, where I grew up. So, yeah, I've been in student ministry for about 6 years now. Been at my current church in Jacksonville for 4 years and loved every bit of it. It's a good time.
If you're not watching the video, can you just go ahead and explain what's on your shirt to the people watching?
Well, these are amazing. Augusta National azaleas right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks good.
In honor of Masters Week, I have to represent.
It's ongoing Masters Week. It's like it's like Christmas all the time. Yes. Masters Week is all the time.
Looking forward to next week.
That's good. All right, next we have Alan Greenwood. Alan.
Yeah, so I serve at Fellowship Bible Church. I've been a student pastor the last 4.5 years at the Cabot campus, and really served about 17 years in student ministry. So serving the church, and really got my start through FCA. Grew up in Arkadelphia, started a FCA chapter at Arkadelphia High School and Goza Middle School, kind of when I was a college student, and really got plugged in through Micah May and other people through FCA, Papa May, back in the day. And so FCA has been a big part of my journey from the beginning. So
It's incredible. That's awesome.
Where would you say, and we'll start with Stephen, just in your own personal life, where would you say you first felt your call to ministry? What did that look like for you? And how was that kind of playing out in your life?
Yeah. I mean, I have the basic trope of, always growing up in church. We were there every Sunday, every Wednesday, the doors open, all that. We got later into high school and, felt like the Lord was really calling me to vocational ministry in some aspect. Down in South Arkansas, you get called to ministry. Everybody's like, you're going to preach, right? And so I surrendered to ministry, as you do. And they threw me up behind the pulpit, started preaching all my senior year of high school, went to Washita, kind of followed that calling there to train in ministry, went to seminary. And student ministry is, I tell people all the time, like, I don't feel called to a position, more like a place and a people. And that's, a really sophisticated answer to say, like, I just want to do anything that the Lord places in front of me. And so, I felt called to Jacksonville, felt called to the students in Jacksonville whenever that opportunity arose. And it's been a good time. I'm young, just turned 26. And so felt like I can really relate to teenagers still in this time in my life. So felt like the Lord could use me best in student ministry, and we'll see what he has for me in the future. I don't believe that student ministry is a stepping stone like a lot of people think.
Yeah.
It's definitely a calling of its own, and I definitely think I'm called to it right now. So, but we'll see what the Lord has.
I think that's a good point. I had someone ask me the other day, my dad's been at the same church for 22 years now. And they said, well, where did he start in the church? Because he's the care pastor now. And I said, well, he's just been the care pastor the whole time. And it's kind of this segue of some people, and sometimes in church we get a little bit mixed up that there are stepping stones of like, oh, I'm working as a youth pastor to become the head pastor someday. Right. But like, are the youth not just as important as the rest of the congregation as adult church too? I think that's really good. And obviously it comes from a perspective of a student pastor, but I think there's still just as much importance to that, that we continue to speak that and share that. Because if we're being honest too, sometimes students are a little bit more hungry and receptive to what's going on in church than the adults are sometimes as well. So it's always cool to see how students respond, I think, and it's cool to see younger student ministers and student pastors that can still relate and are still connected in some way. Although regardless of your age, I think you can still be connected, obviously, yes. But I'm 23 as well, so it helps definitely to be able to connect to certain students. Yeah,
I remember when I moved to Cabot in 2011, I was, whatever that math is, how old was I? 30s. And they're like, so when you grow up one day, what do you plan to be? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm a grown man. I'm 30 years old. I'm a student pastor. What else am I going to do?
Sovereignty of God.
I got that same question.
Yeah.
That's a rough one too.
No, like when you grow up, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Plus,
what are you going to do? I'm like, this is what I strive to be. And my answer always was and still is, you talk to somebody inside the church as a senior adult, do they talk about adulthood as their most favorite time or a teenager as their most favorite time? Almost every man on the sideline or in the stands on a Friday night is coaching because they remember how they played football and how they can do it better than football coach down there, because they remember those days. And those are the formidable days that they remember of their faith walk or their youth pastor or their youth ministry time or the mission trip that they took or the opportunity of the sport that they played and everything else. So why would anybody want to do anything other than student ministry? I don't know. And that's kind of how we do FCA here in Central Arkansas. Is we get to be a student pastor for all student pastors to benefit all the church on public school campuses. So that's my heartbeat. get as many student pastors and pastors plugged in to be on campus, to disciple, to build a relationship with students who become they say the future of the church. They are the church. The future of the church is in the nursery. And
Yeah, I mean, I think like Zach said, if you're called to the church, you're called to the whole church. You know, it doesn't matter the age from crib to the grave, right? And if you're called to make disciples of all nations, go into all the earth, then wouldn't that mean the schools? Wouldn't that mean the coaches? Like, it doesn't stop past a metal detector, right? The gospel, goes on into that.
that's right.
I guess it could stop at the metal detector.
Well,
if you did have something that should not proceed.
A metal cross.
Yeah,
you know.
that's semantics.
Crossing a switchblade.
Oh boy.
Crazy.
I will say I do love watching youth pastors that are maybe just a little bit out of their athletic prime go and try and do.
What are you trying to say right now?
Oh, I'm
You're
just
looking
making
at
it.
me. That's
I'm,
why I
I don't know
say-
if
I'm
you
making
looked
a
at you.
I'm making a general statement. My eyes were not locked on anyone in here. Let it be known.
He's not looking at us now, but he was. I think. a minute.
But I fear for the Achilles and ACLs of every youth pastor who tries to relive their glory days out there. Because before long, I'll be included in that as well. But I just I saw it not too long ago. Not that someone tore, but I just get fearful sometimes of I had a youth
I saw it on
pastor.
Instagram last night. David Crowder's in a leg cast from his hip to his foot. I'm like, what in the world did you try to
Forrest
do?
Frank. I mean, yeah, it's-
Skateboarding. Yeah.
More youth pastor injuries happen playing ultimate frisbee or beach volleyball than anything else. I feel like.
Why beach volleyball though? That
Basketball.
shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I can see basketball. I mean, how hard were you playing a beach volleyball? Like what?
I don't go play beach
It should be
volleyball.
like a
They must have
little
landed on
cushion,
the
man.
concrete curb instead of the sand. I don't know.
Oh man. Alan, do you want to go ahead and share a little bit about kind of your call to ministry as well, kind of your heartbeat for your students out there in Cabot?
Yeah, so I grew up in Arkadelphia, so not far from Hope. We played Hope growing up and just really loved sports. And so I really, when I was in high school, really enjoyed sports. So I wanted to go into broadcasting. I wanted to be on ESPN and to do radio and sports journalism, all those things. So I went to Ouachita Baptist along with Stephen and started there and really thought, man, like this is the future, like communication wise. But for me, the thing is that I enjoyed writing. I knew that pretty immediately I didn't want to do television broadcasting, but I enjoyed writing, enjoyed going to games, talking about it, but I wanted to be with the people. And that was the hardest thing when you're in the press box, when you're covering events and sports. I always wanted to be kind of in the stands, getting to know people, build relationships. And so I had a lot of people growing up like, man, you're going to be a pastor. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I don't come from a family of pastors. I did grow up at the church at First Baptist Arkadelphia. But really what happened is that God used a mission trip and different people along the way to really just kind of alter my perspective and what I felt like my life was going to be about. And so I came back and thought, man, what do I do? Like I wasn't a Christian studies major. I was just a mass comm major. And so I came back and got plugged in with FCA, started going into schools and leading, Bible studies at lunch, taking other college students with me. And really that kind of opened the doors to give me an opportunity to see what it looked like to do ministry. So I went back and worked at Ouachita for a couple of years, and then I started my first full-time ministry job at Geyer Springs First Baptist Church. And so that was kind of the beginning that kind of led to now. But really my dad gave me the best advice, which a lot of our parents do. And he said, man, if you really want to do this, go and do it for free, get a job and really volunteer for a while and see what it's really like. And so those 3 years and being poured into and discipled by a pastor in my home church really kind of changed the whole trajectory of my life. And so from there, the Lord has just kind of used those formative moments to kind of get me to where I am today.
Yeah, definitely. I've been saying more recently, the quickest way to become a youth pastor is to say you don't want to be a youth pastor.
It's true.
I feel like
Exactly right.
outside of just being a youth pastor, the quickest way to become something is to say that you don't want to do it, because it seems like God kind of checks us in those moments. And it's like, well, it's not really up to you because I'm writing your story and your giftings and abilities don't quite line up with what you think you want to do for your life. I feel like it's cool for especially our students to be able to hear stories of like, it wasn't like Paul or like Saul when he was transforming into Paul, the great apostle Paul that we know of. Like it was like the road to Damascus, and all of a sudden it's this bright shining light. It was just like over time, as you were exposed to the church and as you were exposed to what it looks like to reach the next generation, that just kind of became something and a desire that the Lord has put on your heart to be able to minister to and to reach athletes in the next generation. So I think that bodes well with FCA and kind of what we do
100%.
on campus. And I know Josh wanted to talk a little bit about that, kind of your guys' impact with FCA on campus and how that looks. So
Yeah. So when I came on staff with FCA, I was in a wilderness wandering, I guess you could say, trying to figure out what God was going to have next for me, what stage, what phase, and where to go. And I remember coming on staff, and I was like, all right, so I get to be youth pastor with all youth pastors, still in ministry, still feel called to ministry in this way. And everybody's like, yep, that's what you get to do. And I'm like, okay, well, here's how I'm going to do it. We're going to raise up the biggest youth pastor volunteer army that we can find and get everybody a place to serve on campus in a meaningful place. Because I remember oftentimes being stuck in my office in a church ready for people to come in to talk to, and I couldn't ever see anybody, could never do anything. But that's kind of what was expected for youth pastors to do. You have office hours. I'm like, why do I have office hours when none of my people are here? I need to be where my people are, or the people I'm supposed to do ministry with and to. So it's a lot of parent conversations or lunch meetings or planning and sermon writing and all this other stuff. But I always felt like I needed to be where students were. So when we got the opportunity, and we are a volunteer run ministry, youth pastors come alongside to have a place of meaningful service on campus. Because a lot of times I'd sit in my office and like, does Sally really get what we're talking about in Bible study, and how is she living it out on campus? Or how is she displaying Jesus to her peers? Or how is she shaping the culture of her locker room or the sideline or her play? How does it affect, how does her walk with Jesus affect all of those things? And so that's why Stephen and Alan are here, just to we've built great relationships and partnerships in ministry, working in Jacksonville and in Cabot. And these are just two of the many that we've built relationships with, and we do things with, and we pray with, and we go have lunch, and we talk about family, and we talk about ministry, and hey, do you know this person? You need to know this person, just as a way to network, to build up the body. So Alan, I'm going to ask you first, since we've worked a lot, stride for stride, in ministry, side by side, and doing stuff. Why partner with Fellowship of Christian Athletes?
You know, I think the most beneficial thing is that when you start to think about, man, how do you impact people? The easiest thing is to impact groups of people that are already formed. You know, you talk about band, you talk about athletics and teams and such. Those are people that are working towards this common goal. And really, as the church, I mean, all these different churches partnering together, FCA is the ministry that has a lot of reputable respect in the communities and a lot of school districts. And it's just the easiest outlet to go and get involved in what's going on, because you don't have to go in and explain, hey, here's what we do. We want to help you as a coach. We want to bring waters. You know, we want to bring pizza to you. We want to come in and help you with, you know, navigating different issues with students and such. And so FCA is just the perfect vehicle, because, I mean, you're partnering with something that already exists. You're bringing good into a space that, man, they need all the help they can get. You talk about a football team, basketball, even cross country that we've worked with before. These are groups of people that, man, they're pouring their heart and soul into a team that's already working together towards this goal. And so you kind of get to be a part of something that's already doing a lot of good. And it just is one of those fun things to look out and to see, man, like God is already doing a ton of things through athletes and sports and teams. And so FCA is just that easy vehicle for a church, for a student pastor. And probably, I mean, Stephen could probably speak to this. It's probably the one ministry that unites churches together. Yeah, I don't know that the church does that very well, working together in the community well, but FCA is probably the best avenue, the best thing that I've seen over the years that actually brings us together and helps us like understand, man, we're in this together. Just like other teams on campuses are working towards the same goal of, you know, bringing up students and helping them mature, become the best version of themselves. FCA is that vehicle that really kind of unites churches, communities, teams together.
I think it's important what you're saying too about a lot of times we can get competitive. I have a youth pastor buddy up in Kansas City and was catching up with him not too long ago. And he was talking about how it was almost like each youth ministry was trying to one up each other with the big budgets that they had and like the big events that they had. And he found out that students were actually church hopping from one youth ministry to the other because there was so many special events going on that they would just jump to the next special event. And it was like, what are we teaching our kids right now about like discipleship and like how to just live a life pleasing to the Lord when all we're doing is just like throwing big fancy events at them. And number one, if we don't know what other people are doing, it's kind of hard to collaborate and be a part of the church. Two, if we don't give relationships the time or opportunity of being able to meet other youth pastors, being able to meet other churches in our area, then we don't really best know how to serve the people in our community, I think personally, because if everyone's just beating on the same drum, you're going to miss a group of people within your community that you have an opportunity to impact and connect with. So I think that's really great. Obviously, that's a big reason why I love FCA and love what we get to do, because I met with youth pastors from all kinds of different denominations and pastors from all different backgrounds and things like that. And the common denominator is we want people to grow closer to Jesus. Yep. And it's really as simple as that. But I think sometimes it can get to a point where our name or our impact, like the name FCA will fade away. Like there's no one that says, oh, I was in FCA, I get to go to heaven now. It's if you have a relationship with Jesus. There's no one that says, oh, I go to this church or that church that you get an automatic ticket. It's did you faithfully serve and follow Jesus? Did you have a relationship with him? I get kind of passionate and I don't know, just a little bit like I just feel like we miss that sometimes, and it gets frustrating because there's only so much you can do about it. But I think when you yourself are a part of trying to change, then you're doing all that you can. So anyways, that was my little tangent there.
No,
but
I definitely agree. Like in a place in like Central Arkansas, it can feel like you have to buy your youth ministry, right? And we lose this. We can very well lose this idea of we are the church, capital C, right? And that's what I love about FCA is it gives the church, capital C, a foothold or a foot in the door at the schoolhouses, right? Like it gives us the opportunity to come together in unity over there is one gospel, right? And we can all agree over that. You know, we can disagree over, denominational things or whatever, but what's most important is the gospel and the salvation of souls, right? In these teenagers. And that's what I love about FCA, and that it gives, like you said, like it's a thing that's already in place at the school. And then I can give my teenagers this outlet, right? Like, hey, here's already this thing in place. You don't have to start a new Bible study on campus. You don't have to start this new thing. There's already FCA. You play volleyball, you play softball, whatever. Like, just go join your FCA chapter, get involved, and start being a leader right there. It's already, there's already a Huddle there. So, that's really good.
I mean, really, that's our goal. Our goal is to get to where every school has a FCA representation on campus, has a multi-sport huddle, or even deeper than that, they have a multi-sport, and then they have a team-based huddle that they can get plugged into so that the students can lead in Bible study and lead in prayer time and care for coaches and care for their teammates and all those things. So that's super. That's great. So if you're listening to this, I just want to put a shameless plug in here. If you're thinking, man, I really wish my youth pastor would get involved, or when you get our youth pastor involved in Fellowship of Christian Athletes, there's two ways to contact us, two websites. One, go to centralarkfca.org, centralarkfca.org, and click get involved. And there's a little form there to fill out. Or that's for all of Central Arkansas. So if you're hearing this and you're like, I don't know which which area to go to that one, and then we'll get in touch with the right person and where to go. And the second one, the website that me and Zach oversee and run is Central Arkansas East FCA, which is caefca.org. And click get involved, and there's a little form there you can fill out. It tells you what school and what church you're from, what church you represent, your information, and we'll get in contact with you and figure out the best way to partner and pair. And we want to grow this volunteer army of pastors and youth pastors and parents to get on their campus to share the name of Jesus with and it's just the opportunity. People tell us all the time, like we're going to shift into Fields of Faith conversation. I had a conversation with the pastor in Cabot not too long ago, and he's like, why should the rest of my church come to FCA's Fields of Faith? It's like, it's for the athletes. I'm like, no, you're totally missing it. We are the organization that hosts the opportunity for the church, the entire church, to come together to worship Jesus. We are the organization that ministers to coaches and athletes, that opens it up for everybody. It's not just an athlete event. Are the testimonies athletes? Yeah, because we're the organization running it. Are the testimonies coaches? Yeah, because we're the organization that focuses on coaches and athletes, but it's for the benefit of everybody. We don't do it for to promote one church or one denomination under another. It's the opportunity to say that we are on Team Jesus. He is our coach, and we are his players, and we're here to celebrate him and get our orders and our game plan from our coach and let us execute it on our campuses the best way that we know how. And so with that saying, you're talking about Alan, Alan talked about being a unifying force. FCA gets to unify the church because, as I've seen and everyone in this room has seen, and probably everyone listening to this, is that most churches don't work well together. We don't play well. We get territorial, and we think that my belief's better than their belief, and everybody else is dumb and stupid because they don't believe what I believe. Well, I don't read the Bible that way. I think Satan wins whenever churches argue about trivial stuff instead of focusing on heaven and hell and people going to heaven and hell. And if we argue on denominational lines and everything else, and Satan wins overall. We may feel like we win, but Satan wins. And as Fellowship of Christian Athletes, that's what we get to do. We get to, we are a non-denominational church for the benefit of all local churches to act as the church. So all those lowercase c churches everywhere else get to act as one big C to impact our communities, impact our cities, impact our county, our state, our nation, and the world for Jesus Christ, all through the influence of coaches and athletes. And so with that said, I've told Zach this, and I tell our staff often, if FCA, the only thing we ever did was to be the mortar that held all the bricks together of the local congregations in every city we go to, then we've done a good job. Coming from a pastor's heart, someone felt called to the church, not to a specific age group ministry inside the church, but to the entire church to use to build up the kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven. And if that's all that we do, then we can go to bed happy and at peace and wake up ready to go and do it the next day. You're smiling. What'd you think I was going to say?
I thought you could make a worship song out of that. Like, Lord, I am the mortar, align the bricks, and I will be your mortar. You know,
trying to be like the potter and the clay, or what?
Yeah, there's songs like that. I just was thinking of it as like an analogy in my head. It just was really funny in my head. Speaking out loud, it didn't seem to get
tell
the
your
reaction
fiance
like
to write
it
that
was.
song.
Yeah.
Let me know how that goes for you.
I don't have any comment on that one.
It was a good analogy.
But to be the unifying force to build his church, if we get the opportunity to do that, then that's what we need to do to mobilize the church to be on mission, to live as missionaries in their field, in the places where they work and where they go to school, in their homes, and to be disciple makers. And if FCA is the tool and the vehicle to be able to get into school campuses, by all means, and let's do it.
Before we get into Fields of Faith, can I just ask a quick question? permission,
You
please?
just asked a question, but you can ask
Yeah,
another
Only
okay.
if it's about aliens.
Okay. Yeah, we do want to get to aliens at some point on this show. Not really, but Stephen wants to get to aliens. My question is more so from the beginning of our conversation as a youth pastor, when looking at just any kind of pastoral position, how have you seen the importance of like having the microphone versus just serving? Like, I feel like I've seen that a lot. I went to a private university, seeing a lot of ministerial degrees come through there, and everyone wants to have the microphone in their hands. Everyone wants to be the one given the 4-point sermon that is just like stellar, and they're getting the applause. But in all 3-point, yeah, I was getting a little excited there. 3-point sermon, but can you just share a little bit of your perspective on what a healthy youth ministry really looks like from the leadership down, from you guys down? How do you set the tone for your youth ministry? Alan, you want to go ahead and share?
Yeah, that's great. Great question. I think the reason why FCA is a benefit to the local church is that it equips students to lead the work of the ministry. And I think that is, for myself, probably Stephen would agree with this, that a healthy student ministry is equipping others to do the work of the ministry, whether that's adult leaders, whether that's students, to where it's not just all about you using a microphone, and that the growth and all the different things that God's doing is happening just through you and your voice. But I think the healthiest place we could be is that God is helping us catch a vision for discipleship, that we would work and equip and pour into and disciple the next generation, so that when the time comes, like, they're in a place where they've matured, they've grown. I mean, all of them are going to college campuses, and God is doing great things on college campuses. And I really do think that even though the work that's happening on those campuses are happening, and it's a moment and what God's doing there, but it has to be through a lot of faithful people in their lives before that too. And so I think just the things that we do, we have to disciple and pour into them and connect them to the idea that this, faith journey is going to be for the rest of their lives. And so the best thing we could do is to make sure that they are understanding that it's not just about us, not just about the one leader, the one microphone. Because I think if it was just about the microphone, a lot of us probably wouldn't have gotten into it. That was probably not the primary reason. I just really wanted to work with people, kind of like what Josh did. And so some of those things came, and I actually was really bad early on, and probably have grown over the years, hopefully, since then. And so I view it as more discipleship, equipping. And I think that's probably more faithful to Scripture of what the church should be like.
Yeah, I think in my experience, I've seen like church people, especially just the congregation as a whole, has felt kind of defeated when it comes to like the schoolhouse. Like they feel like they've really been kicked out of schools, right? And so they don't know how to minister to students and teachers and coaches and get into the school anymore. And so having an opportunity to tell them, hey, I'm going on campus this Friday night, I'm going to serve spaghetti to a bunch of football players and share the gospel with them. Like they will get behind that. I'll have a line of people say, can I come with you? And so like just little things to be able to tell the church, hey, we have not lost a foothold in the school. Like the gospel is still pressing forward into those dark places. And the church can get really excited about that. And I know for myself, like I have to be very proactive about not like getting too excited almost. Like I can try to overextend our church or overextend our youth group into the school, and then you get pushback from different avenues and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean the church gets really excited when you have a vehicle to get into the school. What was the original question? I feel like I got excited.
Just how do you were answering it as you were speaking. Leadership, it sounds like you're saying, comes more from doing the ministry itself rather than just the microphone and the platform that you get to be able to do.
Yeah. I mean, like having those opportunities to just serve students. Like it was just a couple of days ago, I was at Sonic, and this boy brought me my drinks and my wife's food, and he was like, hey, didn't you bring us like a whole pizza a couple months ago, like for our ball team. And I was like, yeah, man, I was there. Like, what school are you at? And he told me what school he was at. And I was like, yeah, man, I was there. He didn't know my name. I didn't know his name, but he remembered
That's cool.
that little act of service. He remembered, he probably didn't even remember a word I said, but he knows that I said something about Jesus.
Yeah.
He knows you care. Yeah.
Right. He remembered my face. He remembered that I cared. Yeah.
Definitely.
So how has your involvement in Fellowship of Christian Athletes directly impacted your student ministry, or indirectly affected your student ministry?
Well, I mean, we always have wonderful conversations every year after Fields of Faith, because Fields of Faith, and you can use this as a segue into Fields of Faith if you want, but how I always describe it is it's a gospel encounter is really what it is for all parties involved, right? It's just like you guys are setting up a gospel encounter once a year, twice a year, whenever it is. And so I bring my students, I tell them, hey, if you're on a ball team, like go with your ball team, because it's important for them to see you in that setting.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like this is a great opportunity for you to be a leader tonight. Like for them to see you raise your hand in worship, for you to lead prayer in your prayer huddle, whatever it is, like go with your ball team. But the rest of my youth group, if they don't play sports, if they're just in the band or, whatever, not just in the band, but you know what I mean? We'll all come, right? We'll all go to Fields of Faith and we will be a part just like everybody else. And you're over there laughing.
Sorry, I'm just a little.
Were you in the
today.
band?
No, I wasn't in the band. I was just, I'm the child still.
You played
Sorry,
the flute, didn't you?
No, I did play the recorder though. We did recorder karate. I had
very
little
good.
belts around my recorder. Anyways, continue.
So whenever we go to Fields of Faith, I mean, God always moves in a big way during Fields of Faith, and then we can have these conversations afterwards. After they see their friends go and talk to somebody about rededicating their life or accepting Jesus for the first time, and we can have these conversations of what it looks like to continue that discipleship work now that they've had this encounter with the gospel. What does it look like for you to continue to disciple them at school or after school? Just continue to be the presence of Jesus on campus after they've had that initial encounter.
And I think it's a great, a lot of churches are like, man, we want you to serve. Like with students, like we're always passionate about moving students towards not just receiving from others, but actually serving. But there's a limit to all of our churches of what students can do. And FCA, I mean, it gives them an opportunity not just to be a part of it, but to lead. Like they're doing the Bible studies, they're inviting their teammates, classmates. And I think we would all probably agree it's a lot easier to invite someone to an FCA huddle if that's their first church experience. And a lot of the cities we're in, like that is their first church experience. Their parents don't necessarily attend somewhere, they're not connected. And so it is a great avenue to develop their skills and allow them to be equipped and lead in ways that's going to absolutely benefit them moving forward into college, young adulthood. They'll look back and I think they'll have more experience in FCA and some of those avenues than we're able to give them in the church setting, because we do want to equip them and have them poured into by someone in an older stage of life. And so FCA really, the event is fantastic, but then the ongoing ministry that they lead, I mean, we'll come in and we'll help facilitate and we'll help support, but it is way more impactful when they're the ones leading the huddle on their team, on their campus, because that's not just being in a room, but it's actually actively calling people to something where you're in the same life stage as them. And that's powerful.
Yeah. One thing about Fields of Faith, that if you're not a student pastor, you don't lead it like Josh and Zach do. You don't see the follow-up that happens afterwards. So if there's any kind of decision made, that's recorded, like what school they go to, what their name is, what the closest church is to them. And then Josh gives that to all of us youth pastors. And we can contact those kids directly. And so a kid that I may have never talked to in the past, and I would have never talked to because I just didn't have any connection to him. Now I can send him a text message. Hey, I'm Steven, a youth pastor at this church. We would love to meet you sometime. Love to have you on a Wednesday night. Just kind of, it's a great entry point to even schools that I've never been into.
It helps with recognition and repetition of, yes, absolutely a gospel introduction. But kind of like you said with your Sonic story, I think that's just so practical. I've had students do that. There'd be one or two students at the youth ministry I serve in on Wednesday night, and they'd be like, "Wait, have you been at my school before?" They have no idea what I actually do, but they've seen me on campus. They've seen you on campus, and it's like, well, this makes sense. Like you're doing something about like with Jesus. So I think that's so important. Absolutely. And I think that's why Fields of Faith is such a great event. We don't want to over we don't want to do so many big events where it's like this isn't discipleship at its core, but one event throughout the year to be able to bring a community together, not just athletes, not just coaches, but students, teachers, faculty, community members into honestly a stadium that probably is a big cornerstone of a community anyways, which is what football is, especially the further south you go, it seems that that's more of a spectacle. But why are you laughing?
Spectacle.
Yeah, it is a spectacle. That's
good.
what it is. It's
Yeah.
a spectacle.
Yeah.
To be able to.
It just means
I'm
more.
not from down here.
Okay,
You know?
I was waiting for that. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
The more we're able to, I think, step into those avenues and be present and available for, like you said, being on campus. Students, literally all they have to do is make the choice to come to the FCA club that's on their school campus. We're eliminating excuses and reasons that they shouldn't get involved. And I feel like that was something I saw growing up in my youth ministry was there was a few different reasons and excuses that we could make for why we didn't want to come to youth on a Wednesday night, or why we didn't want to read our Bible, or why we didn't do this and didn't do that. And obviously, yes, at some point you have to make a decision to do that and choose that for yourself. But are we exploring every avenue we can to be able to expose students, coaches, athletes to the gospel and everything that Jesus offers and everything that the Lord offers through his word and just through life with him. So I think that's just so important.
Yeah. And Fields of Faith kind of feels like a celebration, almost like a celebration of being an athlete. And then for those of us who are Christians and who are in a youth group or they lead a huddle, it's a celebration of being a Christ follower, like a place to unashamedly worship Christ amongst the world, right?
Yeah.
Like we invite the world
Yeah.
into this gospel encounter, and we're unashamedly worshiping the God who we choose to serve and follow
In public for the world to see, unless it rains.
Yep.
Then you move indoors on a whim sometimes,
and it's still just as loud
and
in
it's
there.
still just as loud and crazy and ruckus. And
That's right.
Jesus gets the honor and the glory, and it's great. So I know our mission is to lead every coach and athlete to a growing relationship with Jesus Christ and his church. So and we say this often, what happens on campus, if it only stops on campus and doesn't translate into a local congregation, then we failed. We want to get as many coaches and athletes plugged in from our huddles into local congregations so that their discipleship process continues. Not to say that we are incapable of training them to become a disciple, but if they're not plugged into a local congregation, then they're missing out on everything the Bible teaches about having a community together and being. It's harder to be a lifelong follower of Jesus if you're not plugged into a local congregation and community of people to help keep you accountable to pursue Jesus all the time. It's not just a season. It's not just a sport, because the sport fades away, but the body of Christ, local congregation doesn't. So whatever we can do. So all that to say, I know how important it is to have your ministries on your campuses that you do, and the calendars that student pastors and pastors have, their church calendar and their flow and their transition to go from August to May or year round, as some do, are often to do, to go in their discipleship process of steps and acts of service and teaching points and calendars and everything you do. Why? You could easily do that and not come to Fields of Faith. So as a youth pastor, why is it important for you and for your church and your volunteers and everybody involved to be involved with an event like Fields of Faith?
I think it's one of the things that's cool, and he kind of spoke on this, like the student connection, and that you guys have seen. Like, it's cool to be a part of something that it doesn't necessarily initially benefit you. You know, like, you're going to be a part of something, you're going to support them in a way that's going to like encourage them, and in a way to say that, man, we're in this together. Because most of the people at Fields of Faith don't necessarily go to my church, don't necessarily, all of them don't go to Stephen's church. It is going to be a part of something that's bigger than yourself. And I think that's a powerful statement, to go and to do something that you're not always necessarily going to get initial, benefits from, but it's going and stopping and saying, you know what, like, this is a big enough moment. Like, this is one of those opportunities that you don't really get on a college campus. You don't really get in an adult setting, because a lot of the older that people get, like, the more territorial and the more set in their ways and rhythms. But it's that moment in time in the history of the world that you get to stop and say, man, this moment is bigger than me. I'm going to go and be a part of it. I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm going to help set up the stage. I'm going to help invite students. And even if not all of my students go, it's important enough for me to say, hey, this is huge. Like, you've got to invite your teammates. If your teammates go to another church, you need to invite them. If your teammates don't go anywhere else, I think it's just a reprioritization to say there's some things bigger than ourselves. And these are moments that we have right now that we may not always have, but for the time being, this is one of those vehicles and those moments that you can stop and say, man, this is really valuable for me to spend my time, and to stop and press a pause and to say, man, I'm going to prioritize people. I'm going to prioritize the gathering that just doesn't get to always happen throughout the year, but it is one moment that's huge.
I had a youth pastor tell me that's really good.
It's incredible.
I had a youth pastor tell me similar to what you're saying. He said he helps out regularly with one of the teams on one of our campuses in Central Arkansas, and he was telling me, he's like, I don't view the students that I'm ministering to on campus as they belong to another church or they're anything other, but he's like, those are my students. They just go to my church that's on campus. And it really flipped that switch in my head of how we view that. I'm not a youth pastor. We work and serve in schools, but it flips that mindset from, all right, I'm focused on this individual group to I have a broader range of, like, I know for Stephen at Jacksonville, it's not like a lot of those students that show up to our huddle, none of them really even go to your youth group on Wednesday or
Not a one.
whenever you meet, but those are still your students because you show up consistently and we're meeting them with the gospel every week. It's service. It's your youth group. That's just, they don't go to the physical building, but you go to meet them. Like, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to hear that and to be able to see that of, and again, we're not trying to pick on anyone or pick at anyone.
Nope.
It's just this perspective that we want to encourage people to just think a little bit differently, because where would Josh be if there was a coach who hadn't impacted him because of the influence of someone else? Where would Stephen be if he didn't have the impact of the ministers before him? Where would this person or that person be if the avenue that they were interested in or the field that they were in at school was a little bit too unique or a little bit too diverse for our ministries to get to on campus? I just feel like we would just miss a wide range of students. So I think that's an incredible perspective, an incredible word. I'm always encouraged when I get to talk to any kind of local church or minister, because everyone has unique gifts and abilities, and everyone has a unique way of doing ministry. And it's a beautiful thing when we can figure out how to coordinate that and work as the body of Christ. Just a really, really cool thing. I don't know if you had any more.
Yeah. So, like I said, we use this FCA as a vehicle to get on campus, and we use it as a way to influence those who influence other people. So I had a parent who's a band director in Cabot approach me last week. She said, hey, so my daughter's been going to the basketball huddle in Cabot, girls basketball, and loves it. And she comes home talking about it, all the things that they're covering. She's like, why can't we do that for the band? I said, that's a great question. I said, how many are you talking about? She said, 290.
The largest group on every campus, single-handedly.
The
without a
largest
doubt.
group at Cabot High School.
Yeah.
All together.
I would say probably every campus.
She,
that has a
the largest band in
So,
the state.
Yeah.
She said, my kids need these biblical truths in their lives, whether they choose to do it or not, the way you're doing every other team. I was like, well, that's our motto. And it's one of our things unwritten is to influence those who influence other people. And the band sets the tone on every Friday night at the spectacle, as Zach said. So,
The spectacle.
They are the spectacle.
Makes it feel like
they
the
can
Roman
be, they can be the
Colosseum.
spectacle, but she's like, we break up into different instruments, and we have I said, there's more student leaders here who could lead it and run it. We can train them, equip them, and y'all could do it. And she's like, let's meet to talk. Let's figure that out. But had it not been for the presence on campus through coaches and athletes, she would not have seen that for her area. And I've had people all the time ask me, why don't you go to the band? Why don't you go to the band? Why don't you go to the band? I'm like, because we're Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We have to establish here first before we can go there. And I don't want to impose or cast vision or do anything else. But when a band director asks, how can we do this for my students? That's when you move. So sometimes it's not always when God gives you a vision, God gives you a dream, he doesn't always give you a green light to go do it. Sometimes it's I've given you this vision for when the time comes, you're ready to do it. But that doesn't mean you don't plan, you don't prepare, you don't write out your game plan, you don't scribble it out, you don't tell people, you just say, hey, here's the vision God's given me. When it's the right time, we're going to go, we're going to attack. So I've had that dream 5 years ago. I told her and said, it's always been, but I knew we had to establish here first before we could get to there. She's like, well, let's do it. So,
Yeah, well, that's how you know FCA's been successful. Once it grows past Fellowship of Christian Athletes, it's become Fellowship of Christian Students.
yeah, I mean, it's just a way to get into the door of a school to help the church be the church.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming and sharing and helping us out to tell the story of Fellowship of Christian Athletes in your student ministries in your life, and just to see the smile on your faces when we tell these stories, it's contagious. And the glow in your eye and the opportunities that are going to come that we don't even know. So thanks for your partnership in ministry. All these many years, could have had every opportunity to say no, and I'm out and deuces. And that coach really doesn't want to answer my phone call, but you still pursue and to foster those relationships in that time. So
Thanks for having us, man.
yeah,
This
we're
is great.
excited. We're excited where God's going to go in the future and where he's going to lead through this ministry to coaches and athletes that opens the doors to everybody else. So with that said, like I said earlier, if your youth pastor needs to be involved in Fellowship of Christian Athletes, or they're looking for a way to get on campus, have them reach out. We'd love to get them plugged in, love to build a relationship, take them lunch, coffee, learn their story, learn your church's story, how we can get involved. 2 places, centralarcfca.org or caefca.org, and leave us a note. Click on get involved and type in your information. We will be in touch. And if you're listening to this and you wanted to help and you don't know who the FCA person is in your area and you're outside of Central Arkansas, still fill it out. We'll get them plugged in. Our network is wide and vast and very connected, and we will get you plugged into the right place, to the right person, to get you the answers, to help get your people involved. Because the more people we have involved, the more people get to know Jesus, the more his kingdom here on earth looks like it is in heaven. So with that, thanks so much for joining us today on the Central Arkansas FCA podcast, Beyond the Huddle, where faith meets competition. I'm Josh Ader and Zach Rose. Y'all have a great week, and we'll catch you next week.